My brother betrayed me, got my wife pregnant, then came back begging after our parents disowned him and left me everything. What happens when sibling rivalry spirals into betrayal that could tear a family apart? Discover how Michael navigates heartbreak and the shocking revelation of his wife's pregnancy, challenging everything he knows about family, loyalty, and the path to forgiveness. Are the bonds of blood stronger than the scars of betrayal? Picture two brothers growing up under the same roof, yet living in vastly different worlds. Michael and David shared childhood memories, but not the affection of their parents. Michael, the elder, was diligent and often overlooked, while David basked in the spotlight of family favoritism. Many assumed such loving indulgence would breed camaraderie, but for Michael, it sowed seeds of resentment. He watched as David, encouraged by their parents, grew reckless and entitled, while Michael's own achievements went unnoticed. But what happens when love becomes betrayal? This story of favored affection took a twisted turn when David, once the adored golden child, betrayed his brother in the most personal way imaginable. It wasn't just the sheen of familial favoritism that blinded everyone to David's flaws. It was the deep shadows it cast on Michael's life, casting scars that linger to this day. Can the bonds of brotherhood survive such a breach? We just saw the always complex layers of family dynamics at play, imperfect humans in imperfect situations. As we unravel the layers further, what's next for the Johnsons? The roots of their conflict await us, beckoning from a small town near Seattle. What awaits them next? Let's find out. Nestled in a quaint town near the buzzing cityscape of Seattle, we meet the Johnsons, a family shaped by love, quiet strength, and subtle discord. Michael Johnson, the elder of the two siblings, is a diligent and reserved young man. A student of life, he absorbed wisdom from the well-worn pages of books, often preferring the company of his thoughts to the chatter of the crowd. In contrast, we have David, the youngest, whose vibrant charm and easy laughter made him the family favorite, effortlessly basking in the glow of parental affection that often shadowed Michael. Their parents, Anne and Robert, brought contrasting but complementary approaches to parenting. Anne, with her nurturing heart, believed in gentle encouragement and giving the boys freedom to explore their potential. Robert, firm yet fair, championed discipline and hard work, values he deeply hoped to instill in his sons. These divergent styles created a complex web of family dynamics, where love was evident, yet equality was sometimes elusive. As we ponder how these differences shaped the brothers' paths and the profound impact on Michael and David's relationship, the question remains, how will these seeds of favoritism blossom? What's next? Let's find out. We've just seen the familiar tale of sibling rivalry unfold within the Johnson family. Michael, the diligent and quiet brother, has always felt overshadowed by David's charm that seemed to blind their parents to his flaws. Anne and Robert's differing parenting only fueled this quiet tension, but sometimes it's the quiet storms that are the most destructive. It began subtly. A comment here, a forgotten appreciation there. Michael found himself on the receiving end of small slights that chipped away at him. Meanwhile, David's presence around Susan grew more pronounced. What started as innocent chatter transformed into shared laughs and long conversations. Susan, unaware of the deeper rift between the brothers, found herself drawn to David's easy charisma. In a family where favoritism had already tilted the scales, this growing closeness was the spark to a tinderbox of brewing resentment. Familial love became tangled with betrayal as Michael's unspoken struggles faced an unexpected challenge. This tale forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth, how small actions can weave into a fabric of mistrust. What's next for Michael and his fractured family? Let's delve deeper into the emotional stakes and tangled loyalties. Growing up, Michael had always been the backbone of the Johnson family, silently bearing the weight of expectations while watching David bask in the glow of parental favoritism. Here lies Michael's unspoken battle, year after year, feeling overshadowed by a brother whose charm dazzled everyone but left Michael in his shadow. We just saw how small slights and pent-up resentment led to a significant betrayal, with David inching closer to those Michael held dear. Yet it's not merely David's reckless antics that compound the family's turmoil. It's how those actions diminish Michael's sense of self-worth. Meanwhile, Susan finds herself in a heart-wrenching predicament, torn between her loyalty to Michael and the undisclosed feelings that tether her to David. As tensions simmer beneath the surface, each member of this family juggles their demons, creating a volatile concoction of emotions teetering on the brink of explosion. This makes us wonder, how do deep-seated insecurities and reckless behaviors steer the course of family narratives? As we delve further into their lives, let's unravel how the choices of a few can shape and sometimes shatter the bonds of family. What's next for the Johnsons? Let's find out. As we dive deeper into this tangled web of emotions within the Johnson family, we see the backdrop of their story come alive at a sun-drenched family gathering. It's the annual summer barbecue, a cherished tradition meant to celebrate togetherness, but tensions simmer just beneath the surface, threatening to boil over. "Hey, Michael, bet you can't hit a home run," David's voice rings out, a casual taunt meant to rekindle their childhood rivalry. Michael forces a smile, knowing the game is unnecessary fuel on the ever-growing fire between them. Past slights whisper through the rustling leaves, stirring a storm inside him. We just saw the emotional stakes, from Michael's perspective, overshadowed by David's, the favorite son, reckless and adored. Now, here at the gathering, David's antics spin out as he juggles a beer in one hand, shouting, "Trivia quarterbacks ought to know." His charm is wild as ever, but beneath his bravado lies a carelessness that worries those older and wiser. Susan is nearby, laughter too bright, and gaze holding Michael's a little too long. An awkward dance of secrets unfolds, unnoticed to all but the most perceptive, and then the afternoon's peace is shattered when an unexpected guest arrives, a courier handing Susan a mysterious envelope. Her face pales upon reading its contents, an ominous silence blankets the group. David, undeterred, inquires obliviously, "What's up, Susie? You look like you just saw a ghost." But Susan cannot form words. They are trapped by the gravity of the letter. Michael steps forward, his voice barely a whisper. "Susan, what's wrong?" What follows is not just resistance breaking, but the crumbling of a delicately maintained facade. The news she holds tight is explosive. More than any misplaced sports challenge or brotherly banter, Susan is pregnant. But the lineage of the impending life remains uncertain. It's a revelation that rocks them to the core, like an earthquake under all they believed stable. As the echoes of truth ripple outwards, each family member sits in silence, confronted by betrayal's bitter taste. The shock reframes the laughter and the games, casting long dark shadows over the day. What tangled truths lie ready to unravel next? Let's find out in the family's unfolding drama. As Thanksgiving dinner commenced, the Johnson family gathered around a table laden with dishes, their voices masking the quiet tension that simmered beneath the surface. We just saw how Susan's pregnancy revelation stirred the pot, brewing conflict that would soon spill over. Michael, perhaps trying to find some respite in the familiar clatter of cutlery, was unaware of the storm about to unfold. Amidst the awkward exchanges of pleasantries, he noticed his wife Susan's furtive glances toward David, his notorious younger brother, whose charismatic antics often eclipsed Michael's steady and quiet nature. The meal proceeded with the air heavy with unsaid words, until Anne, the family matriarch, gently prodded Susan about her due date. The question seemed innocuous, but the room fell silent as Susan hesitated, her eyes meeting David's across the table. And in that moment, an unspoken reality began to unravel. Michael, drawing a sharp breath, sensed the gravity of it before any words were spoken. His voice broke the silence, steady but edged with an intensity that demanded truth. "Susan," he began, his eyes locked onto hers, "is there something you need to tell me?" Susan's eyes welled with tears, and with a voice barely audible, she admitted the toughest truth she'd ever had to reveal. "Michael, there's a chance the child might be David's." At that confession, the world Michael knew splintered around him. The betrayal felt as if the very ground he stood upon had opened up, leaving him grasping at fragments of trust. David's face turned stone cold, offering no denial, no confirmation, just a flicker of realization that this was a point of no return. The room erupted in chaos, voices overlapping in disbelief and accusation, the vibrant Thanksgiving tableau now a scene of discord. Yet amidst the chaos, Michael felt a strange clarity, a challenge, perhaps, to confront his brother, his wife, his very sense of what family should mean. This revelation, painful as it was, could forge a new understanding or scar immutably. The choice, though daunting, lay before him. As the dinner descended into turmoil, one could only wonder, how will Michael navigate this unforeseen twist of betrayal and familial loyalty? With hearts and trust fractured, what's next for the Johnsons? Let's find out. In the flickering shadows of yesterday's revelation, the Johnson household strained beneath an unbearable weight. Robert, usually the stalwart pillar, found his facade cracking. The fatherly pride he held for David turned to ashes. Anger and grief in disguise threatened to consume him as he made the difficult decision to sever ties with his own son. David, now disowned, stood at the threshold of a once loving home, the silence between him and Robert heavy with unspoken recriminations. This was no impulsive choice but a painful necessity, a line drawn in the sand to prevent further erosion of trust and family bonds. Meanwhile, Michael sat in the corner of a warmly lit therapist's office, the air tinged with lavender and hope. Here, amid the quiet murmur of a water fountain and the gentle guidance of a compassionate therapist, he sought clarity. Therapy would not erase the betrayal, but it offered a canvas for understanding, a path to reapportion blame and rekindle forgiveness. He was on a voyage inward, an expedition to reclaim his narrative against the turbulent backdrop of family dynamics. Isn't it fascinating how families, much like seashells, can fracture under pressure, but also reveal exquisite layers of resilience? Each session was another brushstroke in the evolving portrait of his healing, a chance to dissect the deep wounds laid bare, and to stitch together the fragments of his self-worth. Within this space, Michael began unraveling a knotted history of rivalry, favoritism, and unmet expectations. By addressing the roots of pain and setting the scaffolding of healthy boundaries, he found the first glimmers of peace. How does one's definition of family transform over time in the crucible of such trials? Moving forward, it became clear that this journey was not solely about forgiveness towards others, but also about reclaiming trust in himself. With every session, Michael came closer to understanding the vast, tangled web of human connection. As the dust settled and lives adjusted to the new normal, the world outside mirrored internal landscapes filled with potential renewal or the quiet persistence of unresolved pain. But where does Michael's journey lead next? As family narratives ebb and flow, how do others carve paths to redemption or perpetual resentment? Let's explore these themes further in the next scene. We just saw Michael on the path to healing, and it reminds me of a striking story about our distant cousin, Timothy Edwards. Living miles away in a quiet, sea-breezed village, Timothy quietly harbored unspoken tensions with his brother Marcus. These tensions simmered beneath the surface for years, much like the Johnsons. While Marcus was the golden child, gifted academically and equally favored by their parents, Timothy was always the one left in the shadow. Despite their friendly demeanor at family gatherings, an undercurrent of resentment lingered. It was during one snowy Christmas Eve, at the annual Edwards family reunion, that the truth came to light. Amidst the laughter echoing through the cozy living room, Timothy, perhaps emboldened by the weight of the season, or maybe it was a little too much eggnog, decided to address the elephant in the room. Standing amidst relatives, he candidly spoke about his feelings of being overlooked and the impact it had on his self-worth. His confession unleashed a cascade of emotions across the room. Initially met with uncomfortable silence, his words eventually spurred Marcus to speak up, acknowledging his ignorance of Timothy's struggles. This raw honesty broke down the long-standing barriers between the brothers, setting off a powerful ripple of healing throughout the family. Witnessing this transformation, the Edwards family began addressing other shadows hanging over them, secrets and misunderstandings that had created distance over the years. There's a lesson in Timothy's courage, an illustration of how confronting painful truths, though difficult, can bridge gaps we never imagined crossing. It's a reminder that while unresolved rifts may seem daunting, tackling them head-on can yield profound change. What insights might the Johnson family discover as they navigate their own path forward? What's next? Let's find out. As we reflect on the journey of the Johnson family, it's clear their path was fraught with deep heartache and the arduous challenge of rebuilding shattered trust. Michael, whose quiet perseverance masked years of feeling overshadowed, had to confront the ultimate betrayal, a wound inflicted not just by a brother, but also by love itself. His heartache was profound, a relentless tide of emotions ranging from anger to despair. Yet it was within this storm that he found the seeds of forgiveness. Forgiveness, not as an act of excusing the hurt, but as a means to reclaim his peace and rebuild his life. Susan, entangled in the web of family loyalties, learned that truth and reconciliation required courageous vulnerability. Together they discovered that forgiveness is often a journey without a clear map, requiring empathy and honesty. The family's struggle was a testament to resilience and the quest for healing in the face of overwhelming pain. This bittersweet odyssey reminds us of the delicate balance between holding on and letting go. Moving forward, how does one establish boundaries and value oneself amid family complexities? What's next in their story? Let's find out. As we just saw, the Johnson family's journey through heartache and rebuilding trust serves as a poignant reminder of life's daunting yet invaluable lessons. The importance of setting boundaries becomes clear as Michael learns to navigate the turbulent waters of family betrayal. Boundaries are not merely walls, but bridges that allow us to express self-worth and ensure mutual respect. When boundaries are set with care, they become vital tools for nurturing healthier relationships. Now, let's embrace forgiveness, an act that is powerful and transformative, but only effective when accountability is present. Forgiveness without holding someone accountable only perpetuates hurt, while accountability provides a firm foundation for genuine healing. This delicate balance Michael and his family explore shows us that true forgiveness isn't about forgetting the past, but letting go of the stranglehold it has on our present. Through the lens of the Johnsons, ask yourself, where do you need to establish boundaries, and how can embracing accountability lead to deeper connections? As we ponder these questions, we prepare to dive into another layer of understanding. What's next in this journey of familial reflection? Let's find out. As we just explored the Johnson family's tumultuous journey, we were reminded of the deep complexities and joys that family brings. Family dynamics shape us in profound ways, influencing our choices and relationships. Now, imagine your own family's tapestry, woven with love, disagreements, and defining moments. What stories do you hold dear? Perhaps they mirror Michael and David's struggle, or perhaps they paint a different picture altogether. This is your invitation to pause and reflect. Each family has its unique stories, often marked by resilience, love, or sometimes loss. By sharing these in the comments, you contribute to a supportive community where voices can find understanding and empathy. We may come from different backgrounds, but the essence of family connects us all. What unexpected lessons have you learned from your family? What moments have shaped you into who you are today? Your reflections can offer solace and encouragement to someone walking a similar path. Join the conversation below and help create a space that embraces healing and growth. What's next? Let's delve deeper into expert insights that can guide us on this journey. Up next, we'll hear from Laura, a family therapist with wisdom on sibling dynamics. As we dive deeper into the complexities of family dynamics, let's pause for a moment and meet Laura, a dedicated family therapist with over 20 years of experience in unraveling the intricate tapestries of familial relations. Laura has devoted her career to understanding the nuances of sibling rivalry and the psychological shadows cast by favoritism. She joins us now to shed light on these pivotal issues that often simmer beneath the surface, only to emerge when tensions boil over. Laura begins by addressing the lifelong impact of being the less favored child, a role many like Michael find themselves in. Growing up in an environment where favoritism is palpable can leave indelible marks, Laura explains. Children who feel less treasured than their siblings may struggle with self-esteem, trusting relationships, and often carry these scars into adulthood. It's here that family narratives like the Johnsons become a tapestry of unmet needs and unspoken truths. Sibling rivalry, she mentions, is not just about competition for parental affection. but often a quest for individual identity within the family construct. Favoritism can distort how each sibling sees themselves and shapes their place in the world, Laura tells us, while one child may bask in the spotlight, often unaware of their sibling's plight. The less favored child might retreat into their world, building walls of resentment and insecurity. These seeds sown in childhood can flourish into entrenched rifts, echoing into the relationships siblings form later in life, as we've seen with Michael and David. Laura stresses how crucial it is for parents to recognize and mitigate these patterns before they become ingrained. It's imperative, she emphasizes, for parents to cultivate an environment where each child feels equally valued and understood. This doesn't mean treating all children identically, but rather honoring their individual needs and strengths. As she shares these insights, Laura is acutely aware that implementing such practices requires self-awareness and a commitment to nurturing harmonious family bonds. She further touches on the psychological turmoil that favoritism can inflict. Children in David's position, who enjoy preferential treatment, can develop a distorted sense of entitlement which may spill over into their interpersonal relationships, leading to a lack of empathy and accountability. Laura explains that parents' inadvertent actions can tacitly endorse such behavior, reinforcing divisions that might seem harmless at first, but grow into significant emotional chasms over time. Why do some families perpetuate these cycles? Laura believes that part of the answer lies in unexamined family patterns. Many families operate on autopilot, repeating dynamics from past generations without conscious awareness. By becoming mindful of these patterns, families can break the cycle, ensuring healthier, more equitable relationships for future generations. The truth, she says, often lies in facing these uncomfortable histories with openness and a willingness to change. Laura underlines the transformative power of therapy. Seeking professional help can offer a safe space for families to voice grievances, confront deep-seated issues, and embark on the journey of healing. She recalls working with families where sibling rivalry once seemed insurmountable, only for those rivalries to dissolve once each member felt heard and validated. This process isn't easy, she asserts, often requiring time, patience, and the willingness to embrace vulnerability, qualities that were pivotal in Michael's journey toward healing. Therapy provided him a mirror to reflect on his experiences, helping him dismantle the walls he'd built and redefining his relationship with David and ultimately himself. As we conclude this fascinating insight into Laura's professional world, we're left with a clearer understanding of how foundational early family dynamics can be. They shape not just how siblings interact with each other, but also how they approach life's broader relational landscapes. In reflecting on this, one might wonder, how has your family's story shaped your identity, and what steps might you take to foster more meaningful connections? Stay with us as we continue to explore this compelling narrative of family, love, and forgiveness. Up next, we'll delve into the critical role of communication and active listening, showcasing stories of real-life reconciliations and how families, despite their scars, find a path to healing. What's next for the Johnson family, and how will they rebuild trust? Let's find out. Continuing from Laura's insights on sibling rivalry, today we dig deeper, exploring the heart of what it means to truly communicate within a family. Communication is the lifeblood of any relationship, particularly within families where dynamics are rich and histories are long. Let's draw on some real stories, tales that could just as easily be your own. Consider the story of the Rivera family. On the surface, they seemed a typical family, full of laughter and shared meals, yet beneath, silence often reigned where words should have been spoken. It all came to a head when Maria, the elder sister, felt isolated, unable to share a burden she had carried for years. It was at a family retreat that they were asked to participate in an exercise called Family Mirrors, where each person reflects back what they see in others. Maria hesitantly shared her truth about feeling ignored ever since her father's illness became the family's focal point. The room went silent, and then her younger brother, Juan, broke the ice, admitting he too had struggled, but didn't know how to express it. This was a powerful moment of connection and vulnerability, leading the family to engage in dialogues they had always avoided. Active listening played a key role here. Real listening involves more than simply hearing words. It's about understanding the emotions and context behind those words. In the Rivera family, listening without judgment or interruption opened a new chapter of empathy and compassion. Maria and Juan's willingness to speak and their family's readiness to listen was the first step in rebuilding their bonds. Now, let's shift to another story. The Harpers, residents in a bustling suburban area. Jessica, a young teenager, found herself constantly clashing with her parents over her choice of friends and her future plans. What Jessica's parents realized through a counseling session was they were so busy fixing her decisions that they had forgotten to ask about her dreams and fears. Her parents began to embrace active listening, a method where they gave full attention to Jessica's words, asked clarifying questions, and reflected back what they heard. This opened doors. Jessica felt heard and valued, which changed the dynamic from confrontation to collaboration. Studies show that families who practice active communication experience less conflict and stronger relationships. The importance of expressing our needs and listening to others cannot be overstated. For many, it's about reclaiming those conversations where silence once stood guard and finding strength in vulnerability. A question to ponder. When was the last time you truly listened to your family sans any distractions? That involves putting down the devices, turning off the TV, and focusing entirely on their words and non-verbal cues. In today's fast-paced world, this kind of communication stands at the forefront of family resilience. These stories underscore a crucial lesson. Communication is not merely about speaking, but involves a balanced exchange where listening holds equal weight. Whether it's acknowledging shared pain or celebrating individual joy, rich dialogue enhances family intimacy. As we end this scene, let these stories inspire reflection on your interactions. Consider the roles of communication and empathy in your own family dynamics, and think about how moments of honest dialogue and active listening could serve as transformative agents. What's next? Let's find out as we move forward with Michael's personal reflections on self-care and resilience, shining further light on the path of healing and growth. As we continue from our previous discussion on the importance of communication and active listening within families, it's time to hear directly from Michael. It's hard to believe how much has changed since those early days of sibling rivalry and family favoritism. Michael sits at his favorite spot by the window, where the morning sunlight filters in gently, illuminating his thoughtful expression. He shares his journey with us, a story of learning, resilience, and ultimately self-discovery. Michael starts by admitting that it took him years to realize the importance of self-care, a lesson learned the hard way through heartbreak and healing. For so long I was driven by the need to prove myself worthy, not just to others, but to myself. Being overshadowed by David wasn't just about being second best in the eyes of my family. It cast a shadow over my own ambitions and happiness, he confesses. With sincerity, he reflects on how the betrayal he faced wasn't just about losing trust in others, but about losing trust in himself. But he learned. The therapy sessions, which initially felt like an admission of weakness, became his sanctuary. It was there, he explains, that I found my voice. I understood that self-care was not selfishness. It was a necessary step towards resilience, a path to reclaiming my own life. His hands move animatedly as he describes the breakthroughs, how recognizing his own needs and setting clear boundaries became powerful tools in his healing process. Michael's narrative takes a poignant turn as he shares an anecdote about a personal revelation. I had a moment of clarity when I realized I was carrying not just my burdens, but the built-up wreckage of expectations. In my quest to be strong, I had forgotten to be kind to myself. He speaks of how he found strength in vulnerability, a concept that once seemed alien to him. In a moment of introspection, he recounts his epiphany in therapy. It's okay to not have all the answers, he recalls his therapist telling him. This simple truth became a guiding light, enabling him to shift his focus from the unattainable standards set by others to his own journey of growth. He lays out a strategy that changed his life, a daily practice of gratitude, introspection, and deliberate choices to nourish his well-being. Michael emphasizes the potency of resilience. For him, resilience was less about bouncing back to the person he was before and more about evolving into the person he wanted to become. Resilience isn't a single act of toughness, he explains. It's a series of small choices we make every day to rise above our struggles. He passionately shares how resilience stems from accepting setbacks as part of life's narrative, a build-up towards a more fulfilled self. He pauses, his eyes reflecting a mix of past pain and current peace. Then, with surprising eloquence, Michael touches on the concept of imperfections in familial relationships. I've come to understand that family isn't just about blood or shared history. It's about those willing to stand by us, scars and all, as we move forward. Michael's reflections come to a point where he speaks directly to the listeners, posing a question that resonates deeply. How do we rebuild when the very foundation seems fractured? It starts with self-kindness and a steadfast belief in our ability to overcome. He encourages every viewer to embark on their own journey of understanding, to disrupt harmful cycles and create new, healthier patterns. To conclude, Michael, with a warm smile, offers a heartfelt reminder. Through all the chaos, I learned that growth isn't linear, but it's always forward. We need to embrace every moment, even the painful ones, because they shape our resilience. His journey, though fraught with challenges, serves as a testament to the power of self-care and the indomitable spirit of resilience. With these insights, we are left to ponder our own familial dynamics and the choices we make in them. Do we create narratives of hurt, or do we write stories of healing? Much like Michael's personal growth, it's never too late to choose differently. Curious about how others have mended their family ties or transformed their lives, let's explore these stories together as we continue to learn and grow. What's next for the Johnson family and for each of us? Let's find out in the comments below.